Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Excited to be with you this morning, or whenever you're watching this. I'm taping it very early in the morning. As you know, on yesterday's podcast, I went through and said that I thought the Raiders were going to win. And I did several radio shows yesterday and around the country, and I wanted to expand on why I believe that. And some things I think that we're seeing that point to that direction. Now, let's make no mistake, a win by the Raiders in Kansas City is an upset. Not even pretending that it's not. Max Crosby said yesterday in the locker room, there's a difference between competing and winning, and the Raiders need to win, not just compete. I totally agree with them. But I want to give you some detailed explanation. So when I pick a game, there are 10 criterion that I use. Not going to get into those 10 today. I'll do it in the off season. But one of this, and when I look at a game, if it's tied 5-5, I always pick the home team. Now, this one isn't tied 5-5. It's 6-4 to the advantage of the Chiefs. But there's a reason I'm not picking the Chiefs. You don't base things off of a one-game track record. So you don't go look and say, okay, the Raiders scored 63 points. The offense is back. Okay. You don't do that. You may. I'm saying I don't do that. But I take into account a multiplicity of issues. But in this, I do look at track records if they're more than one game. By the way, I just told this. I'm sorry. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Thank you for being with us. Appreciate you joining us. Merry Christmas to all of you. Sorry, I just got right into it because I've been excited to talk to you. And here's some things that we are seeing from the Raiders. We are watching over several games. The defense continues to get better. Patrick Graham continues to make adjustments, do some things a little bit different. There are a couple things I expect to be a little bit different this time against the Chiefs. Number one. Number two, the Raiders have been playing, they're the least penalized team in the NFL. Now, I'm a 52-year-old man. And if you would have told me at any time over my lifetime we would be saying that about the Raiders, I'd be telling you were nuts. That was just not part of their DNA or who they were. But that's who they are now, which I've always thought has hurt the Raiders. Always thought it. And I think you have too. And that ability to minimize penalties creates a lot of opportunity for a team. A lot of opportunity. Now, because we have seen this over several games, we have now proven track record. It's expertise also based on experience. So it's what we've watched with our naked eye, which is over several games, the penalties have gone down. And it's also expertise that okay, we've seen it. There's a track record, so we have a pattern of expectation. Number two is turnovers. The Raiders have been very, very good protecting the football. And they've been very good about doing things to keep Aiden O'Connell standing up. So those are all a track record of things. Yep, there is the anomaly of the Minnesota game. But go back and look at the last Kansas City Chief game. Aiden O'Connell was the highest rated quarterback in the NFL. They didn't lose that game because of Aiden. Now, Daniel Carlson had a rare miss, and things kind of steamrolled out of control with some mistakes. But I'm not making excuses. A loss is a loss. But we're seeing this Raider team get to a place now where they're playing at a certain level, offensively, defensively, special teams, disciplinary-wise, where we now have enough to say that is an expectation and a pattern. It's an expectation and a pattern. So I think those are all trending for the Raiders. Next, had the Chiefs lost to the Patriots, I would have predicted Chiefs would win this one big, but they didn't. But they didn't lose. They won. They beat the Patriots. So now there's a little dynamic here that I find fascinating. Nick Saban once said that one of the most frustrating things is when your team does not perform at a standard and wins. Now, good teams find a way to win when they're not playing well. We're not talking about not playing well. It's when your team isn't doing things the right way and you find a way to win. Because then they begin to say, well, listen, we don't have to listen to coach. We don't have to play at that standard. Well, guess what? The Raiders are playing at that standard right now. The Chiefs are not. And I think coming off a Patriot win, when it wasn't just that they didn't play well, they didn't play fundamentally sound football. And that was what Nick was talking about. And so I think that's another card. Okay, we've beaten these guys before. We're at home. Man, we didn't play good last week, but look, we didn't need to. We're the Chiefs. We're the Super Bowl champions. I think that's dangerous territory for them. Now, let's not make a mistake. I think the Chiefs are the world champions. I think they have the best quarterback in the NFL. And I think that they have the best coach in the NFL. I'm not minimizing the Chiefs. I'm just saying it all sets up for an upset win. All sets up for the Raiders for an upset win. Here's another example. The Chiefs are a very frustrated football team. They are a finesse team. The Chiefs aren't the kind of team, and yes, they have a couple of players are that way, but they're not a team that's going to line up and just beat you up. That's not their style. Okay, the Raiders are. The Raiders are going to walk into that stadium and want to punch them in the face. The Raiders are going to walk into that stadium expecting to play a full 60 minutes. A full 60 minutes. They're anticipating it. And they're ready for a slugfest, a fight. The Chiefs are used to going in. Maybe stuff's tight till halftime. They do some trick plays. They get a lead. The other team spending more time watching Taylor Swift on the video boards, whatever. That's not this team. It's not the Raider team. And if it's a 60-minute slugfest, I've got all the respect in the world for the Kansas City Chiefs. All of it. I'm not in any way minimizing them, speaking poorly of them. That's a really good football team and a really good franchise. But I've watched every game of theirs this year. I don't know that they want or are ready for a 60-minute slugfest. I really don't think so. So I think that plays into it. So then it comes down to this. And this is a big one. If the Raiders continue to not kill themselves with penalties and control the football, I think they win. And I think it'll be a monster win. Now, if they go up there and the penalties are killing them, turnovers, they're not going to win. And my upset prediction is all predicated on those two big things. I don't have any concerns that Aiden O'Connell is not going to perform at a high level because he's done it over several games. Well, what about Minnesota? Fair. But when you look at his track record, go back to the last Kansas City game. Go back even before that. He's playing better. He's taking risks. He's going down the field. Now, I said this on a couple of shows yesterday. I said it on a national show, and I said it on a local show. And I'm going to say it to you. How come when the Raiders beat somebody, they always talk about who's out for the other team? But when the Raiders lose, it's never who's out. And I'm sorry, there's a narrative that's really irritating me. So, well, Justin Herbert was out, Bosa was out, Keenan was out. Okay, that's all fair. All fair. I have no issue with anyone bringing that up whatsoever. Okay, Josh Jacobs Many believe best running back in the NFL, out. Colton Miller, many believe one of the best left tackles, out. Andre James, out. Okay. Chandler Jones isn't even on the team, out. Interim coach, interim offensive coordinator, rookie quarterback. How come nobody talks about any of that? Anyone? Bueller? 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 Nobody does. Well, it's because it doesn't matter. Because you line up and play the game, and there are no asterisks next to a loss that says these people didn't play. Because it's the National Football League. Everybody, including the lowest paid man, is paid a lot of money. They're professionals. There are no asterisks because you play who's on the field. The Raiders are going to show up. They're going to play. And it's like that old Rocky movie when Ivan Drago has killed Apollo Creed. And Rocky decides, I'm going to Siberia to train and I'm going to fight the Russian on Christmas Day in Moscow. And his wife yells at him, you can't win. The guy is loaded up, jacked up. He just killed Apollo Creed. And Rocky looks at Adrian and says, you know what? You're probably right. But to beat me, he's going to have to want it more than me. To beat me, he's going to have to be willing to die because I'm going to be willing to die. At the end, we're going to see what happens. This is the world champions. Best coach, best quarterback. A lot of great players on that team. Kansas City Chiefs deserve all of the accolades. They deserve all of the respect. But to beat this Raider team, they're going to have to be willing to be as physical. As physical. They're a finesse team. I don't know if they are. I have suspicions. But we're going to find out on Christmas Day. And on Christmas Day, if the Raiders don't beat themselves, turnovers, penalties, I expect them to win. I expect them to go in that stadium, punch their face, and these guys are champions. They're not going to quit. Chiefs don't quit. They just won't do that. But I expect the Raiders to put on a show on national TV. It's like Max Crosby said yesterday. There's a difference between competing and winning. AP has done a masterful job of every week having these guys ready, of every week succinctly laying out what's on the table. And the Raiders are still playing for a whole lot. They're still fighting, scratching, clawing. They're still competing. They're playing injured. They're showing up. If you're a Raider fan, this is everything that you want in a football team. Yeah, you may say, I want a different kicker, punter, quarterback, defensive end, linebacker, coach, whatever. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the mentality. This is what you want. This is what Raider teams look like. This is what Raider teams play like. They're not perfect. And man, they got some places that they can upgrade. But they're playing. And there's a term the kids like to use today is called he's him. Talking about. And if you're a Raider fan, this is them. This is the mentality that you've wanted. We have not seen this under Gruden, paid $100 million. Not seen it under McDaniels, paid $60 million. But you're seeing it under an interim head coach who is a Raider, who embodies what it means to be a Raider, who is the personification of a Raider. And the team now looks like him because attitude reflects leadership. We are 2 days away. Man, I think this is going to be a great football game. And that's my reasoning. Again, it's 6-4. And my analytics for the Chiefs, but I'm going with the Raiders because of the intangibles. I very rarely do this. Minimize turnovers, which is not something new. They just continue it. Don't kill themselves with the penalties. Stay minimally penalized. And I think they win. One other thing. When you deal with players and you say, if they can do this, the team A can win. It's very difficult, and I don't ever allow that to enter into my analyzation because we have no track record of seeing this. Okay. Is there one player on this team of which I or you have expectation that we have not seen them perform at a level commiserate with what our expectations are? Okay. I expect Malcolm Kuntz to be able to present to Patrick Mahomes some real issues. That when Max Crosby's getting pressure on one side, he just doesn't float to the other because there's going to be Malcolm Kuntz with a wham right in the kisser. Is there any reason to doubt what Robert Spillane's going to do? But Divine Diablo, that's football. Man, I love this game. Just the game of football. How do you not love it? How do you not just, it's great. Okay. Have any of us have doubts that Amik Robertson can make big plays? We've seen him do it. There's not one player that we're saying, gee, I mean, look at Tyree now. There are times that we've said all year with Tyree, well, if he can do it, but he's shown us now. Goes into my thinking. If they stay minimally penalized and minimize turnovers, which we have a track record of seeing, Raiders 24-21. It's going to be a great football game to watch. It's going to be physical now. This is what you expect of these old school NFL rivalries. It's what you expect. Physical, tough. I mean, you're going to be sitting there wallowing in the post-Santa visit. Hide the women and children. Hide the kids. It's going to be, man. It's going to be like an old Batman TV show. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, those two criteria, turnovers, penalties, I think the Raiders win. It's going to be a great game. No matter what, it's going to be a great game. From my family to yours. Wish you nothing but a very Merry Christmas. Hope that you all have a great day. I'm Hondo Carpenter of Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you all again tomorrow. And in 2 days, we'll also be seeing you. It'll be game day for the Raiders. Have a Merry Christmas.